In this video I'll be showing you how to complete the main Easter egg quest on the map Firebase Z. To start off the main Easter egg quest, as soon as you spawn into the map, head over to this man here named Ravenov, walk up to his container here and hold your interactive button of FX or square in order to speak to him. This will put you into a small little dialogue conversation with Ravenov, and during this time none of the zombies will be able to attack the player that is talking to him. Once you have done this, head over to the teleporter on the top of the roof and teleport to the helipad area. It is at this point that a man named Dr. Peck will ask you to activate all the Aether reactors around the map. I recommend that before you do this, as you are going to need the ray rifle during this Easter egg quest, I'd suggest that you go and interact with the challenge terminal at this point before you open up any of the doors and complete some challenges. The reason why I say you should do this here is because if you open up all the doors, this means you will get more challenging challenges to have to complete, and by not opening up any doors you'll have really simple challenges for the most part to complete here. Make sure when you go to the reward machine you redeem a legendary reward, as this is how you get the ray rifle. You will want to get this ray rifle at this point as you're going to need it later on in the Easter egg, and this is the easiest way to obtain one. Once you've got your ray rifle, open up the rest of the map and activate all the Aether reactors. Once they're all activated, head back to the spawn area and go up to where Ravenov was and walk up to the Pack-a-Punch machine, which will spawn it into the map. If you don't know how to activate the Aether reactors or how to activate Pack-a-Punch, I have a guide down in the description and the pinned comment of this video that will show you how to do all that. You will now want to make your way over to the mission control room, and if you come down to the corner here underneath these staircases, you will see that there is now a shutter that is opened and you can see through into the window where Dr. Peck is. Simply walk up to this and use your interactive button in order to talk to him. This will put you in another mini cutscene. Eventually Ravenov will contact you again and tell you to return to the village where he is. Head back down to the village and go to where Ravenov is and talk to him. He will then give you a mini dialogue speech about truth serum. Wait for him to finish, and eventually when he finishes he will give you a little ID key card. Interact with it in order to pick it up. You now want to find 3 truth serum vials around the map. The first one, if you come inside the equipment storage room, as soon as you come over to this little corner here, you will see a big cabinet here. Use your interactive button to swipe the card on the key card reader. This will open up the cabinet and give you your first little vial. The next vial can be found inside the Colonel's office. It is located near where the Juggernaut machine is inside military command. Once again, walk up to the cabinet, use your key card on it and pick up the vial. The last one can be found inside the engineering. Once again, quite hidden this one. Come up to it, interact with it to open up the locker and pick up the vial. Now that you've got all the vials, head over to the field hospital and come over to this table here with this contraption and interact with this little red mixer here. This will put the vials in and begin mixing them up. After some time, some hellhounds will spawn in trying to attack you, so be careful here and kill all the hellhounds off very quickly so that they don't overwhelm you. As soon as you dealt with all the hellhounds, head back into the field hospital again, interact with the red mixer, and this will put the serum inside the gas dispensal device on the left hand side here on the table. Once it's done that, you can pick that up. Head over to the open lot area and come up on top of this little railing bit here and over to this little vent. Place the device we just picked up and made earlier on top of this vent, and this will begin to pump in some truth serum gas into the room below where Dr. Peck is. Once this happens, if you go back and visit Dr. Peck, you will be put into a very long cutscene where he basically starts spouting out a load of random silly comments and things and starts dancing. When he finishes doing all of his dialogue, he will stop talking for a bit. When that happens, you will want to interact with him again to eventually make Weaver decide to talk to Peck and ask him how to get Samantha back. There will be more dialogue from Peck, so wait for him to finish talking about that. Head up to the data center. This is where Speed Cola is located. If you come up to the machine over here and use your interactive button on it, this will prompt Peck to talk to you. This will also prompt you to be able to pick up these little devices here that are slotted in this machine. Pick up one of these devices. During this step, we need to find some specific mimics and pick them up inside of these little devices and bring them back to this terminal. The mimics that we need always spawn in the same locations. However, sometimes in certain games you can have one mimic spawn in the same location twice. It's very obvious to tell where these mimics specifically are, as when you come to these specific areas you will see there are multiple little bits of salvage and that on the floor that you can't interact with, and when you walk up to one of these it will spawn the mimic into the map. The idea of this step is you need to spawn in a mimic by walking up to one of these pieces of salvage, and then as soon as that mimic spawns you want to get the mimic down to very low health. Once you get it down to low health, throw your device trap down on on the floor, and as soon as the mimic goes near that device, capture the mimic inside the device. On controller, that's usually tapping either the square button or the X button twice really quickly. What this will do is it will suck up the mimic inside of the trap device. You can now pick it up and take it back to the terminal. You will want to bring it back to the data center and interact with that terminal that we got one of these traps from in the first place from earlier, and this will place the mimic that you captured inside of that data device. There are 3 mimics altogether that you will need to capture for this step. You can also only find one of these mimics once per wave, so you're going to be doing this step for 3 separate rounds. You can find one in the spawn area up inside Peck's quarters. You can find another one over by the motor pool, and then the final area where you can find one of these mimics is in the military command, usually within the control room itself. Once you captured every single one of these mimics and brought it back over to this terminal in the data center, you will get all the codes that you need in order to find Samantha, and if you wait long enough, a little floppy disk will pop out of the machine. You will need to interact with this and pick it up. To head over to the planning offices area and come up to this terminal here and interact with it, and this will put the floppy disk inside the terminal. Once you've done that, the big giant ball known as the OPC will now have its doors unlocked. So if you walk up there, you should now notice a portal spawn in. You will now want to head down to Dr. Peck and use your interactive button in order to talk to him. Once again, this will put you into a mini cutscene where Peck tells you what you need in order to activate the portal fully. After a certain amount of time, Ravenov will contact you again and tell you need to pick up some Aetherium crystal containers. Wait until he finishes and he'll give you a code for a locker. Head over to where Peck is again, and on the left hand side here you will notice this locker. Use your interactive button and this will open up the locker. This will now pop out the Aethermeter device on the floor, so now you can pick that up. Before you can begin the next step, you will need to have acquired the ray rifle, which you should have got from earlier, and you will also need to head over and pick up the shovel. The shovel can be found over in Scorched Defense, and it can be found in this left hand bunker just stacked up here against these boxes. You can pick up these crystals in any order you like, however I'm going to show you this order in this video, so it's up to you which order you wish to do it in. The first crystal, if you head over to the open lot area and come over to this window here, if you look at the ground, it will give you a prompt dig. Simply use your interactive button to dig. This will spawn a load of Aetherium crystal containers around that area for you to look at. There will be lots of different Aetherium crystal containers spawned around this area now. Only one of these is the correct one that we need. On the left hand side of the screen you can see an Aetherium crystal container that is not the correct container to pick up. On the right hand side of the screen you will see the Aetherium container that is the correct one to pick up. The way you can tell which one of these is the correct one from the other is the ones that are not correct and are actually a mimic in disguise have some black smoke inside of the container surrounding the blue crystal. The container that is the correct one to pick up actually has no black smoke around the blue crystal at all and is just the blue crystal in the container. You want to find that container here. Once you find the correct container, interact with it to pick it up. The next container you want to come and dig up is outside the field hospital area over by the barracks, and it's just at the bottom here at this staircase. Once again, dig up the dig spot. This container, as soon as you go near it, will teleport and move away from you. This is where you're going to need the ray rifle. So as soon as it comes out of the ground there, it will teleport away somewhere. Go and find where it's teleported to, and instead of running straight up to pick up the container, switch the ammo type in your ray rifle to the Gersh device kind of ammo type and shoot it at that container. Now that you've shot that at the container, run over to the container and pick it up. The last container, I recommend that you have some form of weapon that is pack-a-punch for this so that you are somewhat ready, as this is going to be a lockdown event and you don't want to get overwhelmed here by having weak weapons. Head over to Jungle Defense and head down the middle area here and come to this spot where this puddle is and dig it up. As soon as you dig this up, a yellow container will come out of the ground and a giant orb will surround you. If you step outside of this orb, you will start taking damage, and if you remain out of it for too long, it will kill you. You do not have to get kills during this lockdown event if you do not want to. However, in co-op, as it can get a bit overwhelming, I suggest you actually start killing some of the enemies, in particular the hellhounds here. After a certain amount of time, the orb will disappear. You can now walk up to the yellow container and pick it up. You now need to go and put the crystals from them inside of the Aether reactors. So head up to each one of the Aether reactors, the one at military command, the one at data center, and also the one at mission control. You walk up to each one of the reactors and hold your interactive button, and this will insert the crystals inside of those reactors. Head over to the OPC and wait a few minutes for the portal to eventually disappear. This will start a load of dialogue between Peck and Weaver. During this time period, I highly recommend that all players go and get prepared, as the next part will be leading you into the boss fight. So if you haven't already got all your perks and pack-a-punched your weapons to a reasonable level, in particular for this boss fight, I highly recommend that you have a ray rifle, at least pack-a-punch to tier 2, then you should really get on with that. Head over to the planning offices and come around the corner here and interact with this keyboard and mouse by this screen. The player interacting with this screen will have to use the D-pad on their controller in order to move the cursor around. The cursor they're moving around is the little blue dot on the screen. The person will also see there are a load of yellowy orbs on the screen as well. You will need to move the blue cursor over the yellow orbs until you find a specific yellow orb that shows in the bottom right hand corner of the screen a big giant white box with a question mark on it. This is the yellow orb that you will need to interact with. This will once again put you into a mini cutscene with some really awesome lasers shooting at the satellite dish and so on. Eventually, after a certain period of time, you will then need to head back over to the OPC, and once you go up to the OPC, interact with the terminal in the right hand corner here. This will then start another cutscene, and eventually, after all these cutscenes are finished, you will be spawned into the boss fight. The boss fight in this is actually very easy and really not that much of a challenge. Bear in mind also that you have an ammo container in spawn for you. You also have a crafting table if you wish to craft a score streak for use or even equipment, and you have access to an armor machine and also a perk Wonder Fizz machine, as well as Pack-a-Punch. So you have a lot at your disposal here. But the best way to defeat Orda here is to simply head up to the top of the roof where the portal is that you normally take to go to the helipad area, and simply just stand up there and shoot Orda. Shoot him in his mouth-like area, as this is the best area for him to lose a lot of health. Also, when he lights up orange in that little mouth area, this is the perfect time to shoot at him, as he will lose a lot more health at this point. Simply just keep shooting at Orda in his mouth area until eventually he dies. Eventually, when you've done enough damage to Orda, you will have defeated him, and you will now completed the main Easter egg quest and will now have some more cutscenes to watch. You will be given a reward of a really cool looking Dark Ops calling card. That is all there is to the main Easter egg of Firebase Z. If you need another guide for anything else for Firebase Z, then I will have a link to that down in the description, as well as the pinned comment for you all. Otherwise, I hope you guys found this guide useful, and I will see you all in the next video. Should get a brain rot hellhound. As soon as you get a brain rot hellhound, start killing every other hellhound around you, and also kill any other zombies off that are around the area as well, as the problem with these hellhounds is if they go near other enemies, they tend to explode, meaning that you will lose your brain rot hellhound here. Once you do this and there are no more enemies